Hi everyone, this is Greg Ellis. I work here at Carter Vintage Guitars in Nashville, Tennessee, and I wanted to spend a little time talking about one of the greatest inventions in solid body guitars, the Fender Stratocaster. Leo Fender was a genius as far as being able to be inventive and to build things in a very easy to manufacture and be able to produce consistent high volume things back in the early 50s. His work, he really brought to market one of the first mass produced solid body guitars, which was the Fender Broadcaster, renamed to the Telecaster, and for a brief period of time was a no-caster. Competition was picking up. Gibson was starting to make solid body guitars and a few other people, so he was ready to branch out into something new, something different. And the beauty of what he did was this was a collaborative thing. He was really good about listening to performers, players, and to his own staff to get their input on what would make an iconic guitar or make things better. Freddie Tvaris, he worked for Leo, and he's credited with actually designing this sleek new shape with two horns, the nice tight waist, just that whole sexy look of the Stratocaster body. There's a guy named Rex Gallion, and Rex was brilliant in his thought. He says, well, since these are made of a solid piece of wood, we're really not limited to having square corners like all guitars before that were typically hollow, and they had to be put together in pieces, so there was always sharp edges. It's like, well, we're not confined to that. Why can't we roll all the edges and put this nice contour up here for your forearm, a nice contour back here for a belly cut? So Rex was credited with suggesting the idea of rolling the edges and creating these rolled and nice contours to a solid body guitar, which really has been copied by numerous manufacturers for the last 70 years. And it's just been an incredible design that stood the test of time. Leo himself, he really perfected the vibrato system on this. He and Doc Kaufman, they had worked together for a while in the early days of Fender, and also Paul Bigsby was somebody that Leo conversed with and met with regularly, and they had both invented their system of being able to cause a vibrato or tremolo effect. Leo wanted to create something of his own, and so I think he had a couple of different things that didn't quite work out, but this knife edge where you pivot and have under the cover itself back here, there's an inertia block that the strings go through with springs connecting it. That gave this guitar the sustain and the tone that it needed. The other things he had tested, musicians thought the guitar sounded a little too thin and the guitar didn't stay in tune as well as he would like. So that's his stamp on this guitar, is he really developed this on his own and came up with these stamp seal saddles and the inertia block and all that, which have stood the test of time. There's really not been a ton of improvements to this. Fender uses this same style almost identically to this date. The other thing that they decided to do was, hey, let's add a third pickup. Most guitars had a treble and a rhythm pickup, and they decided to go with a middle pickup just to give you a little more variety. So this particular guitar from the early 50s has a three-way switch, and most all of them up until the mid-70s had three-way switches built in only. Sometime in the early 60s, some guys had figured out they could kind of cheat in between these and get this out of phase kind of sound, which is now that Stratocaster quack that you get out of phase in between the pickups. So most newer models have a five-way switch, so you can easily find that, but on the older models you just have to kind of fudge it in between and you'll get that sound. This is just an iconic guitar as far as solid bodies go. got to be one of the most popular designs of all time, and people still love them to this day. This particular one we have, very unique. Some of the early 54s, mainly in the spring, they started out, and the first 280 something guitars had a serial number on the back of this cover, and they decided since these covers could get moved, lost, and other things, it might be better to stamp a number up on the actual plate, which is not something that people would ever want to remove. So this particular model was built sometime in July based on the neck date of 54, and it's got an early serial number of 0057. So it was one of the early ones that actually had the serial number on the neck plate. Another feature about this particular guitar is the body appears to be sassafras. There's been known that there are a few early Fender Strats that have been accredited to be sassafras wood rather than ash. Almost all of them were ash. Some people think that this could be ash, but it was just quarter sawn so that the grain is so tight. My personal opinion is that this looks like sassafras, and it's extremely tight grained front and back, and just a beautiful instrument, and very rare because of that as well. This particular instrument, everything's original except for the nut. Probably cracked at some point and was replaced. But everything else is just like it was from 1954. So it's a true museum piece, just the best example you could get from one of the very first solid body Stratocasters built. Love for you to come in and check it out, come play it. If you're interested, we do demos as well. It's just a wonderful instrument and a wonderful history that goes behind it.